Hi, I'm Malcolm.
And I'm Rachel. We're two Canadians living on our 39-foot mainship trawler, living an adventure of a lifetime. We invite you to follow along as we travel 6,000 miles through Canadian and U.S. waterways around America's Great Loop. Well, good morning. It is very early in the morning. It's just before 4 a.m. and we're preparing to leave our anchorage here for the simple reason that when we get to an area in about two and a half hours called Hellgate, it's a very narrow channel and can be very, very shallow. But when we get to that area, it should be about high tide, and we'll be able to get through safely. And the next high tide in this area is at 5 p.m., and that makes it far too late for us to reach our destination today, which is another anchorage very close to Charleston. But we want to get through Hellgate safely, and this is really the only way to do it today, and we want to keep moving. So let's see how today goes. We're leaving in the dark, and actually as we look out right now, we can see quite a bit, but we're going to have to use a light to see where we're going in some areas. Hope you're having a great day. It's about 6:30 and the sun is just coming up, and we've timed it to arrive at Hellgate in the next few minutes, so we can actually see where we're going, and it's still relatively high tide, so timing worked out pretty well, I think.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll know when we get on the other side, but I agree. It's been interesting traveling at night. It's dark.
And we did see crab pots.
And one of them was right in the middle of the channel.
Yeah,
I think we only saw about half a dozen tops, but
we had our light shining the whole time.
Yeah, and it worked. So I wouldn't recommend it to everybody to do it at night, but it worked for us, and it got us to this place. Apparently this is one of the last sort of tricky spots within Georgia, and for the most of the eastern seaboard, with the exception of those big open waters. So if we get through this guy, then hopefully we've got fairly clean sailing. The other thing is, as you get past Hilton Head, the ICW straightens out. So all through Georgia, you're snaking around, you're moving, you're twisting, and as you get further up, it actually gets a lot straighter, which means you get a more direct route. So that should be good too.
we're really enjoying this this little journey through this canal here. It's very beautiful.
It's really nice because the trees are really quite large and coming back. It used to be, I guess, salt marsh back when we first got into Georgia, and now there's some really nice big trees. It's forested. It's kind of nice to see.
And there's still a bit of marsh at the side too, so it looks very natural.
Yeah.
I guess that's what we like about it.
Extremely green. I guess that's what happens in the spring. Everything gets nice and green.
And even though it's overcast right now, it's still really nice. We got some nice reflection in the water and the sun. We can sort of see it coming up slowly under the clouds. And I think it will get a little sunnier later, but for now, we're just enjoying what we have here.
Yeah, and it's an early day for us. As I think we mentioned before, we started
at 4 a.m.
Yeah, it was early.
It was dark, very dark.
Very dark, but now it's we'll be done, and really we'll still have half the day.
Yeah, so probably noon or just afternoon or something.
Yeah.
But it was good that we did it when we did, because the tide was pretty much high when we got up, or soon after, around 5-ish, and we got through what's called Hellgate, which was, what was the depth you had there? 7?
Well, the lowest under the keel was 8,
which
so
means it would be possibly down to 1 or 2 feet at low tide at that point. So it's not a very long passage to get through, but one that you can't go through if it is low tide.
No, and certainly some people's boats, that draw 5 feet, you would not want to be going through there at low tide. It'd just be way too tricky.
And the only other time we could have done it today would have been, I think, at 5 p.m., which means we would be in the dark at the end of our day. So this way we only had dark for about 2 hours, or maybe 2.5 hours.
Yeah, so sometimes when you're boating, you've got to sacrifice a little bit of sleep so you can get through safely, but knowing that the actual trip is not really stressful at all. Whereas if we'd waited, I think the stress would have been much higher.
Yeah, like going through here, I mean, we've had quite a few crab pots actually as we've gone along, and that's why we were shining our light all the way for the first 2 hours. Yeah. But it's really hard to see them in the dark, and a couple of them were pretty close to the center of the channel, weren't they?
One of them was right in the center of the channel, and it was a surprise. It was a good thing the light was on, because we did see it. If the light wasn't on, we wouldn't have seen it.
And for those of you who are wondering why we are worried about crab pots are underwater, but they have a line that comes up to a marker, like a buoy. And they're usually in the line. There's usually multiple of them. Mm-hmm. So if you go over that with your boat and you get the rope tangled in your prop, you're done. So that's why we are always worried about crab pots, and all boaters are when they're out here. And there's so many crab pots actually all over these coasts, and sometimes you get a lot, sometimes not many. But this isn't something that we see, at least where we've been boating in Canada. No. We haven't seen that, so it's something we certainly are cautious with.
Yeah, I mean, I can see when this were coming up, a string of them.
Yeah.
But some people have put line cutters on their props or on their shafts. Yeah, some say they work, some say they don't.
And they have their own issues as well.
They do. I mean, they're not perfect.
Nothing's perfect, yeah.
So we've decided not to do that, and hopefully we'll continue to avoid these crab pots. But it's one of the hazards of boating. 99% of all those people that put crab pots out, they're putting them outside the channel, which is good. But it's that 1% that you don't expect, and if you take your eye off it, you run over it.
Yeah, and they're small. You can't really see them until you're close.
That's right. And then unfortunately, that can really ruin your day.
And I think sometimes the crab pots move. The weather, the tides move them, so they probably don't intentionally put them in the channel, but they end up there. So anyway, it would be good if they had little flags on and flashy lights.
Everything's better with flags and flashy lights,
I guess. Anyway, so far it's very enjoyable at this part, and should be smooth sailing from here on in for the rest of our journey today.
And it started to rain, so I think we need to close things up.
All right. So I think this morning when I sort of said hello and said where we were going, I think I was half asleep. I said we were going near Charleston. We're not going that fast, so we're actually going near Hilton Head, and we will be going near Charleston tomorrow. So, I mean, we could, I suppose, make it in one day, but that would be a really long day.
That would be, and even we're not going to do that.
No, and we want to see some things on the way. I know we're not going to see all the towns, but just seeing the waterways is just really amazing. So we're enjoying this trip, and we'll keep showing you as we go. Well, hi again. We went through an area that was, I guess, the outskirts of Savannah. And for this trip, we decided not to go into Savannah. But there were a lot of marinas and some really nice waterways. And as we continue on north, we are approaching already the Georgia-South Carolina border. So we'll be entering another state.
One more, boy, one in 3 days, 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, I guess the waterway along Georgia, or the border there, is not actually very large, even though Georgia's quite a big state.
Yeah, I think it's a little different certainly for North Carolina. It's got quite a bit of coastline.
Yeah.
I think South Carolina's got a fair amount, but so it'll slow down a little bit for us, but just means we got to do some more miles. So and we're going to stop a little bit on the way just to enjoy some of the South Carolina, North Carolina hospitality.
We're now just crossing the Savannah River and crossing into South Carolina, and we are going over 10 knots now. There's the tide going out and giving us a really big push from behind, so we've really gained about 3 knots of speed. It won't last forever, but we'll take it when we get it. Hi there. So we've completed going around Hilton Head, and we were going to anchor near there today. But we noted that, obviously we had some time left in the day, but we noted that the body of water following Hilton Head is called Port Royal Sound. We noticed that the tides would be pretty much at slack tide, and this is a fairly big inlet. So you can see behind me here, that's the Atlantic Ocean right there, and the tides here are really big, about 7 or 8 feet at times, which means that there's a lot of current when it's coming and going. So slack tide is a really good time to cross this body of water, and so we have decided to cross it. So we're actually probably about halfway across now, and it's a beautiful day. There is a bit of wind now, but it's not that bad. And we've been enjoying going along Hilton Head and seeing the luxurious homes and the docks there. I know you probably saw that, the docks with the boat lifts. And the boat lifts are way out of the water right now because the tide is lower.
And so it's very interesting to see what they have to do because of the tides. So I think we even saw a turtle in the water too. That was kind of fun. So we're going across here, and we're going to head over to Beaufort. And there is a Beaufort, North Carolina, and Beaufort, South Carolina. So we're going to Beaufort. We're going to have an anchorage there, and there you have a free dock where we can dinghy in, and then we can just explore that area a little bit. So it is a long day today, and we are feeling kind of tired, but we only get to do this once, so we're going to go and enjoy Beaufort and then carry on tomorrow. I know this morning I said we're going to Charleston. That was a mistake because I think I was kind of not awake. But we will be going to Charleston tomorrow. In the meantime, though, we've been really enjoying this area here. We had really enjoyed going through Georgia, and now, of course, South Carolina. And it's a beautiful, beautiful day to be out here.
We've arrived at our anchorage in Beaufort, South Carolina, and we found a nice little side river, and there was a couple of other boaters anchored here, so we thought we'd come on in and turn around facing the current and put the anchor down. So for now, we're facing this way, but I imagine we will flip around as the tide changes. So we'll just stay here the one night, and we're going to launch the dinghy and just go into the free dock in Beaufort and have a look around there. I'm kind of hoping I can get an ice cream, because I'm feeling like having one now. But it was a long day today. We left about 4 o'clock in the morning. It is now about 2:30, so that was a good long day. Then we actually hadn't planned to come this far, but it was really good to get across Port Royal Sound. I think we mentioned that before, that the conditions were perfect for crossing, so we decided to go ahead and just power through. And so here we are in Beaufort, and we can go and explore this little town. Beaufort is located on Port Royal Island and the heart of the Sea Islands and South Carolina Low Country. It's the second oldest city in South Carolina behind Charleston. Beaufort, South Carolina was featured in the New York Times and named Best Small Southern Town. With a population of just over 13,000, the city is renowned for its historic character, southern charm, and its military establishments, including the U.S. Naval Hospital and the home of the Marine Corps Air Station Beaufort. We're in Beaufort, South Carolina, and we found a nice little ice cream shop, and I got raspberry Greek yogurt And you got chocolate chip?
Good old chocolate chip.
Yeah, yummy.
Mhm.
And it's a pretty nice day. It's very comfortable. And it's sort of the end of the day, so people are kind of slowly going home, I guess. And there's a nice
Oh, yeah.
little street here. We're going to walk up and have a look.